This from The Athletic. 8 predictions for the Browns at midseason. We'll take them and break them down a couple at a time. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will take over for Jameis Winston as the Browns starting quarterback, is the first one. Number 2, Winston will play at least relatively well. Bush, I know people want to see DTR. I think I've seen enough to know he has the potential to be a pretty high-end backup. I don't see the ball placement. I don't see the processing. Can he get there? Yeah, but it's going to take a lot more time than the Browns have.
Yeah, man. They're between a rock and a hard place because even if Deshaun Watson would have played remotely decent, right? I'm talking about remotely decent, where it's like maybe they win 9 games, 8 games, or whatever. They pull a couple games out and they're competitive, and they just lose some games because they're not good enough. At least it would have bought them some time. But the thing that happened with Deshaun Watson as he gets injured, a funny thing happens when you take that piece off the board, because what happens is everybody can at least have a place to vent and say, oh, well, it was just Deshaun Watson, and now we can figure it out, and Deshaun Watson was playing back, and your focus is on Deshaun Watson. Now, in a week or so, you're going to even forget Deshaun Watson was even out there. That's how quickly things come at you in the NFL. It's about what you do today and moving forward. The bye week came, it'll settle a lot of it down. But if the Cleveland Browns aren't playing well, the pressure ratchets up every single week, because now it seems to say, okay, Kevin Stefanski, what are you doing at quarterback? You want to play DTR? Because if you're not playing Jameis Winston, then you're going to be out there, and DTR is, there's a reason why every time he's out there, he seems to get hurt. He's a little reckless. He be jumping around. Like, he's trying to tackle people. Like, no, DTR, I need you to stop playing with reckless abandon and stay on the field and take the easy stuff and live to fight another day. You need Jameis Winston out there so you can evaluate whether Cedric Tillman is going to be a good quality number 2, or if you need to go get you some more receivers in free agency, or to see. So and they're in a position where they almost have to play a guy like Jameis Winston, because he gives them a better opportunity in order to evaluate the rest of the roster. But like you said, I think DTR could be a nice backup. I don't see it as a starter. There's a reason why he played a lot of games in college, but he doesn't have that high-end ability, diagnosing, throwing with anticipation, and the special stuff. We just saw Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Those are NFL quarterbacks. Those are top quarterbacks. That's what you need. And if you don't got that, just because you missed twice, once on Watson and once on Baker, it doesn't mean that you could kind of just slide back into a situation where you can say, well, maybe let's squint really tough and see if we see something in DTR. No, that ain't gonna work.
I'm with you. All right, number 3. Boy, I hope this one's not accurate. We'll see Jedrick Wills play again. Number 4, DeJuan Jones, Cedric Tillman continue to impress. And number 5, Tillman will lead the team in touchdowns. I like Tillman. I do want to see more of him. I'm intrigued by Jones. If Jones can play left tackle, it solves some problems. I've seen it. Enough of Jedrick, and I got nothing against him personally. I need more out of a left tackle, especially one that was taken top 10 in the draft.
Yeah, it's always funny. It's one of those things that'll happen. The NFL will expose a lot of people. It will. You just don't see the fight. You don't see the fire. I think the nail in the coffin was the meme that was going around when he just let somebody just waltz right in. He turned around and was doing this. That meme went viral on multiple platforms, TikTok, Twitter. It was just, and that was the week Kevin Stefanski gave up play calling, so he had an extra little bit of time on his hands to actually look around and say, "Oh my goodness, this is how bad this was." He's like, "Nah, he's gonna be a healthy scratch." Like, when he comes back, I've always been a person that I said I needed more out of Jed Wills. A lot of people said, yeah, let him, he's not Joe Thomas, but he's average. No, the jig is up on Jed Wills. That was a miss, and it was a miss that is egregious. That they've missed up front on guys like Siaki Ika, guys like Jed Wills, James Hudson isn't very good. I mean, they've missed on a lot of guys up front. I mean, offensive line, defensive line guys. And it's like, look, man, you're talking about rebuilding, and you're talking about having these individuals that are in charge of rebuilding. When you take Amon-Ra St. Brown and you take Schwartz over him, the reverse guy. I mean, all he did is in Auburn. All he did is run reverses, and you took him and David Bell. I said, that's why it's very confusing. At the end of the day, they're gonna have to make an evaluation on whether or not these are the guys that are gonna be making these game-changing, organization-changing type picks, because we got these picks because we wasted Joe Thomas's whole career. We got these picks by going 1-31, and now we have players like Myles Garrett and some of the guys that we have that are pillars, Nick Chubb. We got those players, and now we're at the position where we might have to give some of those guys up because we didn't do what we were needed to do to bolster this roster.
All right, before I let you go, we'll finish out the other of the 8 predictions. 6, Browns will finish 5-12 on the year. Number 7, Nick Chubb scores in last home game in Cleveland. And number 8, Browns shake up front office, move on from either their GM or their chief strategy officer, or both. That would point to what you're talking about. DePodesta's the chief strategy officer, Andrew Berry, the GM. I go back and forth about Andrew Berry. Nobody knows what DePodesta is doing, so them moving on from him, nobody's going to know.
He's the hand of the king. Like, what do you mean? Like, this guy, like, they are very smart. I'll give them credit, because it's hard to say fire a guy and they won't even tell you what he does. We might be in left field on this one. Like, he might get it's like guys, it's like telling LeBron, hey man, you got to fire Maverick Carter. You're like, well, what does Maverick really do? Like, you know what I'm saying? He's around, he's his guy. Like, you know, he's never getting fired. So, you know, to me, I'm looking at it with Andrew Berry, and this is the hard part about it, right? They always say they're in lockstep, right? He sold that they're all in one. Everybody was in on Deshaun Watson. Everybody is all kumbaya. My thing is, if you bring in another general manager, think about it. You're bringing in a guy who then is going to be tasked with drafting a quarterback. Now, there's going to have to be a collaboration between the new guy and Kevin Stefanski. And if you're a new GM, guess what every new GM wants? A new GM wants their own coach and their own quarterback. Now, Kevin Stefanski has very strong mindset about quarterbacks, does he not? Because he's been going back and forth about all the quarterbacks we've had so far. So now, how do you have a guy, a Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, and thinks he knows offense and quarterbacks, and you got a new guy coming in that wants to make his mark on the game? I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Once again, who's reporting to the king?